Okay, so describe the formation of ions by the loss and gain of electrons. So I think really the most important thing here is understanding what an ion is. And when you understand what an ion is, you can then describe how an ion is made. So describe the formation of ions by the loss and gain of electrons. Okay, and a loss and gain of electrons. Okay, so an ion is an atom or a group of atoms that has an electrical charge, either positive or negative. So on here is just a little recap of what you need to know about atoms already in order to be able to do this statement. So you can either have a quick read of this and check, yeah, I understand it, or you can go back and watch some of the atomic structure videos. So all atoms have equal number of protons, electrons, and do not have an overall charge. And atoms with incomplete outer shell are unstable. So they're going to either lose or gain electrons to obtain a full outer shell. So this is called the octet rule, and it means that atoms will try and lose or gain electrons in order to make a full outer shell. When this happens, atoms all have an unequal number of protons and electrons and so have an overall charge. They are now called ions. So if an atom has lost or gained electrons, it becomes an ion. So we now need to think about what are positive ions and what are negative. Okay, so looking here at lithium, so lithium 7(3), lithium has protons, neutrons, and electrons, as does every atom. So the protons and neutrons, reminder, are in the nucleus, and the electrons are whizzing around the outside in shells. So that's 2 on the first shell and 1 on the third. 2 on the first shell, 1 on the second shell. So the important point here is electrons are negative, protons are positive, and neutrons are neutral. But the only thing you're allowed to lose and gain is electrons. So you're adding and taking away negatives. Okay, so I've counted up my 3 electrons, and so my 3 negative charges. I've got 3 electrons. I have 4 neutrons and 3 protons. Okay. So I'm going to take away an electron in order to make a full outer shell, because in this instance I can either lose one or I can gain 7. So it's easier to lose one. And lithium's a metal, so metal ions will lose electrons, or metal atoms, will lose electrons to form positive ions. So I'm going to lose this electron to form a lithium positive ion. So you can see this electron is now gone, and I have lithium ion, so Li plus. Now I have 2 electrons, so 2 negatives on the outside, and I have 3 protons, because I couldn't change them, they were on the inside, so 3 pluses. So in total, if I add them together, the overall charge is 1 plus, so hence the Li plus. So atoms that lose electrons have more protons than electrons, so have an overall positive charge and are called a positive ion. And atoms that gain electrons have more electrons than protons and have an overall negative charge, and they're called negative ions. So the electron configure of an atom shows how many electrons it must lose or gain to have a filled outer shell. So atoms that will have a nearly empty outer shell will lose, like the metals, like lithium. Okay, and atoms that will have a nearly full outer shell will gain electrons to obtain a full outer shell. So just going through a couple of quick examples with you. So here we have lithium, magnesium, and aluminium, and we have the electron arrangements 2,1, 2,8,2, and 2,8,3. So all of these are metal atoms. They're all going to make positive ions by losing electrons to make a full outer shell. So in orange, you can see we have our outer shell electrons. These become lost. In brackets, we've put the new electron arrangements, and you see we've formed Li plus, Mg2 plus, because we've lost 2 electrons. So we have a net charge of 2 plus because we've got 2 more protons than we have electrons, and aluminium is Mg3 plus. So sodium is another example. Sodium has 11 electrons in total, 2, 8, 1. It loses 1 electron to make Na plus, net charge of plus 1. Magnesium, there you go, loses 2 electrons to make Mg2 plus. And looking then, we're going to look at some non-metal atoms. So non-metal atoms are on the right-hand side of the periodic table. So they are going to gain electrons because they've got nearly a full outer shell. Remember our rule from earlier. So they gain electrons. So chlorine is 287, so it's going to gain 1 more to make Cl minus. So it'll have a net negative charge because it's getting an extra electron, which is negative. Oxygen will gain 2 and nitrogen will gain 3. So here we have it. Fluorine, where we have the gaining 1 electron to make F minus. And then we have sulfur will gain 2 electrons to make S2 minus. Okay, all in order to make a full outer shell.